Well, hello, everybody. My name is Michael McCormick, and you are listening to the Superintendent Hot Seat, where bold superintendent leaders share the real stories behind their most difficult challenges and decisions as they work to improve student safety, wellness, and attendance in a system not yet fully prepared to support those entering our schools. And today, our guest is Michael Matsuda, superintendent of the Anaheim Union High School District. Super happy to have you on the show, Michael. Thanks for being here.
It's great to be here, Michael, on the hot seat.
Right on. Well, I'm going to kick it right off with the key question to get things started. If you had to rethink student wellness in your district, whether it's student anxiety, depression, bullying, or violence, what would you do? How do you rethink that?
Well, I think that all begins with the interaction between and among students and teachers in the classroom. And I think that our district has taken a very intentional approach to that interaction in terms of engaging kids with relevant experiences around issues that they're concerned about. It's called street data. And creating lessons and assessments and project-based learning around issues that the students care about. And then intentionally building time for kids to reflect on it, share, talk to each other, and learn from each other, and build that sort of micro community within the macro community of schools.
Yeah, not unlike what John Dewey talked about in the progressive schools movement back in the late 1800s, that school is a reflection of society. And to create those safe spaces where kids have an opportunity to struggle with those conversations and pursue their interests that they're passionate about. It takes, in my mind anyways, it takes a really gifted educator to be able to harness the power of that passion that students have and guide that into the standards and the things that the teachers want to cover. So kind of like help our audience understand, how have you created the safe space for your adults in the school district to be able to take the risks, to know how to kind of exploit? It was Marzano who said, this is art and science. So what's the secret recipe in your place?
Michael, I think from Peter Senge to all of the amazing leaders we've had about learning organizations, it's important to have a common North Star. Linda Darling Hammond has been saying that the North Star should be around whole child. One of the things I did almost 12 years ago, I've been superintendent for nearly 12 years, was unyoked the teachers from worried about the test scores, right? Focus on whole child. And I think that has been probably, on one hand, courageous for our board to support that, but secondly, very empowering and freeing in terms of allowing the teachers spaces and time. The time and late starts that would normally be about improving test scores and bands and all of that is really about whole child. And we've challenged the teachers to create what we call dopamine experiences. We're in the shadow of Disneyland, right? Why is it that so many millions of people go back to Disneyland? And it's because they're very intentional about that. They understand the psychology and the emotions involved in learning. If we are able to intentionally release this positive emotions during the learning cycles, that is going to contribute to a child's growth, self-esteem, dealing with depression and anxiety. And certainly we are headed in this country to very volatile times, right? And the schools are unfortunately the front lines of what happens in society. It plays out oftentimes. So we are doubling down on instruction, on trusting the teachers, giving them the time to build these amazing experiences. And guess what? When you have those experiences, kids involved in problem solving, kids learning how to monetize problems so that they can create new jobs that we're talking about the society losing 30% of the jobs in the next 3 to 5 years. The answers are with our teachers and with our kids. And I'm sure you're going to ask a question about AI, but we intentionally bring that in, and we are going to, I think, recreate the DNA that has led this country for generations on innovation and creativity.
Michael, you're speaking my love language. And I mean that so sincerely, because what I understand from what you said is the number one thing you've done is you've liberated your teachers, and you've trusted the teachers as the professionals they are. And I think, one of the things that's kind of a big problem, and generally speaking in education, is that teachers in many places throughout this country don't have that trusted voice to be able to lead their own work and do that for the benefit of the students. It's always like I've had this sense that, there's a lot of people in positions of affluence that like to tell educators how to do their jobs. And you've kind of taken a separate approach and said, look, the answers are within the Anaheim Union High School District staff, and they can solve this. That takes guts, Mike. That takes guts. Talk to me about how you arrived at that position.
I was, before becoming superintendent, I was in charge of professional learning, working with some of our best and most talented teachers. And we would often lament that we had to, we couldn't, we were trained in project-based learning, but we're told by the district that we couldn't really implement till after the testing window in April or May at the end of the school year. So it was kind of an afterthought. And I really bothers me to see people in my position say, oh, we support project-based learning or all these cool things, but then in reality, it's all about the test score. So the teacher leaders on first week or second week I became superintendent said, okay, you got we help push you there, so we will back you on pulling the plug on test scores. And I met with teacher leaders from each site. This was not the union leaders. These are right. The teacher instructional leaders. And I said, look, I'm willing to do this, but if our test scores go down, right, and they're likely to go down a little bit that first year, but if they continue to spiral, the board's going to abandon, and it's I will likely be the fall guy. So let's not let that happen. And enough of them rolled up their sleeves, Michael, and got to work on literacy across the curriculum. We are one of the first districts to integrate TED Talks in their English classes. All of the amazing projects that the teachers wanted to do, we said from day one, go for it. And then we created the capstone programs. We're a 7 through 12 district, so we have capstones at 8th grade and at 12th grade, but capstones begin on day one in 7th grade. We're able to negotiate with the association at least 2 performance task assessments, big units, right, that the teachers would go a deep dive twice a year. Many teachers do it once a quarter. So all of that is digitized now on a digital portfolio. And it's amazing type of work that have come out of our kids. And when a parent sees their kid doing a TED Talk, a truncated TED Talk, there's no more talk about test scores. They said, I want more of that, right? I want to see my kid, when they graduate, they're going to be able to articulate orally, which, by the way, is not tested, oral communication, right? Written communication. But like so much, especially with the AI world, so much of a young person's career is now going to be based on oral expression, right? Because just about everything else can be articulated through AI. And we're not far from where oral expression also is coming in. So I think the Linda Darling Hammond was right all along. Whole child leads to whole adults. Whole adults lead to really engaged, compassion, well-rounded citizens, right? And that can have profound results in terms of our own democracy, right? Where
Yeah.
kids learn to connect the dots, they learn about their passion, their voice. We call it their ikigai, which is
Yeah.
what you're grounded in. And then we also have brought in entrepreneurship too. I'm really a fan of great and effective professional learning. So there's a group out of Wichita, Kansas that does entrepreneurship. We have 300 teachers that have embraced it. And now the kids are learning how to problem solve, learning how to monetize. And by the time they come out of our district, they have a sense of their purpose in life and what drives them.
And
Well, I think the other piece, Michael, in this age of AI is the technology, how we're using AI, right? AI to enhance the human experience, right? If AI becomes just the goal, then we've really lost our way again, right? We have got to be clear on our North Star. Our North Star should be the developing the whole child, right? We take it a step further because we've been very successful in bringing parents and communities together around jobs. We call it the Career Preparedness Systems Framework. The other piece we're doing, Michael, is we're capturing a lot of the data. There's a rich trove of data now through AI, through a nonprofit partner called eCadence with a K. They're amazing because they've been working alongside teachers. Teachers are creating these experiences, and then we are capturing all of that, like I said, in this 6-year portfolio. So the tutoring, AI tutoring that's coming out through eCadence is a tutor that knows the kid. It's not like grafted on from outside. That tutor knows the kid, the grades, the classes, the sports, the clubs, these performance task assessments, the reflections. The reflections, as you know, that's where the deep learning happens. And then we are also with the Cadence now developing AI mentors. They're not off the shelf. There's a lot of AI companies that have off the shelf. Oh, you want to be a doctor, we can give you a doctor. No, this is one that's embedded in the learning management system. So just like the tutor, who the kids have named Scrappy the dog, we now have the capability, and we're piloting, this is all real cutting edge stuff, we're piloting the AI generated career mentor that knows the kid, almost like your auntie or uncle who's a nurse, right? And we're piloting that, and I believe that's going to have profound effect on the lagging indicators of chronic absenteeism, grades, high school graduation, all the other stuff that we're held accountable for.
absolutely. Yeah. Those key performance indicators. It makes me think about when I hear you talk about AI, I love your perspective. It reminds me of a book I read by Kai-Fu Lee called AI Superpowers. And kind of his perspective on this was if we use artificial intelligence to create efficiencies in our systems and improve our workflows, it actually frees us up to love one another more and to have that interpersonal interaction with family and how important that really is for family development around that sense of belonging, sense of hope, um, possibilities that exist for kids in their futures, and they see themselves in a successful future. And so I love that. And I know you're partnering with Google. The other to do some certificate training for kids. The other thing I was really curious about is You're a democracy first school. I don't know if I got the title exactly right, but you've been designated as a district that is all about preparing kids, I believe, to be part of the democratic process. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I'm very fascinated by this.
Yeah, the state of California has a construct. It's called the seal of civic engagement. So upon graduation, you get the seal, and we lead the state in absolute numbers, even though we're 10 times smaller than some of the biggest districts. Um, but I had mentioned like the construct of a TED Talk, right? And you think about a TED Talk, you're telling your story. It's almost a narrative. This is who I am, and this is my issue. My aunt has diabetes and has to go to dialysis, and so I become really involved in healthcare and nutrition and all that. So you tell your story, you've done your research, and then the teachers ask, well, who is responsible for your issue, right? So kids start thinking, who benefits and who doesn't benefit, who is accountable, right? Is this something like a street light? Is it a school issue? No, they would find out that street light, hey, it's city council. So they start thinking, we start with what we were passionate about, and then start connecting the dots. Who makes money from it? Who loses, right? So our kids are more sophisticated. They're learning about civics without it being shoved down to them in a boring way, right? They still have a
Right.
civics class, but when they
Right.
finally take that, I think they have more skin in the game, right?
Yeah.
And we really are building spaces in the classes where they debate, they talk about things they learn, civil discourse, right? And our kids, have been people, outsiders, have come in and said, look at where we learned the kids are handling really volatile issues that much better than the adults handle it, right? Because we're in an age where everybody's being othered and there's a lot of fear and anger, and our kids are coming out very caring, empathetic, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's led to this real, I mean, in terms of being a democracy school, yes, we're the first district in California to be designated a democracy district because our kids are coming out and they're registering to vote. We don't tell them how to vote. A lot of it is just building trust. I mean, I think leaders like myself have got to understand you do not have a monopoly on this product called education. There's all kinds of things shooting up there, and you better improve your product in a way that's going to contribute to democracy, to the economy, to neighbor to neighbor discourse. And so we can find places of commonality where there's so much at risk. Some people say we may not make it to our 250th anniversary as a democracy. And I think all of that is on the table now, and people understand that. The key is going to be our frontline teachers who model what adults should and could be. And I think it's working in our district.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And my sense was that today's youth have a, a level of social consciousness that exceeds what I had certainly seen in the past. I'm 35 years in education. I know you've been in it for a minute as well. And the kids today, now we may not agree with what screen and what media source they're deriving their information from, but they seem to be pretty up to speed with kind of the major things that are happening. And when I think back to, even like COVID, um, our kids were observing how the adults were interacting with each other. And frankly, we weren't doing a great job of modeling civil discourse for our kids. And so people always ask me, gosh, don't you worry about the future? We've got all these teenagers, and are they going to be ready? And I tell people straight faced, I believe just like you would, I have no worries about the future. I think today's youth are going to do a far better job than my generation did at solving some of society's intractable challenges. Michael, take it away.
Totally agree. Ditto with all of that, Michael. But we as leaders, school leaders, need to be more intentional about giving opportunities to kids solving those problems, right?
Yeah.
We have the standards of the testing here, and many of them have no relevance to these problems we're talking about. Those are the things that kids want to tackle. So
Right.
I'm saying to the teachers that, hey, you're smart. You can connect the two. You can connect your standards to whatever that is, right? But if we do not do this, the kids who hunger for chances to solve these problems are going to be shortchanged in an education. And they now have the freedom to go elsewhere, right? There are many other choices out there. So we in public education have got to be really smart, strategic, and more entrepreneurial about this product called education.
Yeah. So well said. We're going to pause here for a quick 30-second break for a message from our producer, Schoolbeat, formerly MooZoom, which is the only SEL platform both educators and students truly love. With low lift, Netflix style, choose your own adventure lessons, featuring real kids navigating real life challenges, daily wellness check ins, and real time insights into what students really feel. School Beat is where every heart has a voice and every voice has a beat.
Creating a safe, supportive environment is key to our learners' success. With nearly every district prioritizing social emotional well being to reduce suspension rates, decrease chronic absenteeism, and improve academic performance, the challenge is how to achieve this without adding to your staff's workload. Discover MooZoom, a groundbreaking student-driven platform that uses real-world choose-your-own-adventure bite-sized movies to make SEL engaging for students, easy for teachers to teach, and more cost-effective for districts to implement. Check out MooZoom today.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Today's guest is Mike Matsuda, superintendent of the Anaheim Union High School District in Anaheim. And Michael, I'm going to shift gears a little bit now. You have announced your retirement. Congratulations. How are you feeling about this?
Like I'm feeling very mixed, but overall, because you work and superintendents are workaholics.
Yes.
I I'm really heading into the deep unknown in terms
Yeah.
of my next steps. I am probably not going to be totally out of education, but involved in a number of other projects. I mean, the luxury I get to pick and choose right now,
That's right.
rather
That's
than
right.
to deal with a lot of the day-to-day stuff.
Well, I lasted a whole 15 days in retirement, Mike. So I'm failing at that, but I'm also loving it. There's a sense of freedom to do the things. You get to choose how you would like to spend your time. And you really get to, we're talking about kids being able to pursue their own passions. It's a chance for, us grown-ups to kind of
So
get engaged with those things that we're passionate about and pursue those interests in a way that is a lot more freeing than what we could do within the normal constraints of the day to day. And so I couldn't be more excited for you as you move into this. And I will tell you, um, one of the pieces of advice that was shared with me was you got to stay in motion and stay engaged with the things that fulfill you. And I tell you, it's hard to slow down. So kind of start thinking about, because I think superintendents were all kind of adrenaline junkies at heart, right? And love kind of fastening up our seatbelt in the morning, and getting ready for the day. So that's super exciting. Well, I hope that your school district is recognizing you in such a way that you really walk into that next phase with a great dopamine experience that, you've left a legacy in the school district, and many of the things that you've done are incredibly innovative, and most importantly, kids centered. And sometimes that's hard to find in our profession. Somehow the kids kind of seem to get lost in the mix of all this stuff. Mike, as you're kind of thinking about um, this transition that's come before you, uh, what are you grateful for? What's on your gratitude list?
I'm grateful for obviously the board having confidence in me. I was never a principal or assistant principal. I was elevated straight out of my coordinator position, mid-level quote manager, but I was always perceived as a instructional leader, a teacher leader. So I'm grateful to all of those teachers, those amazing teachers out there that have been unyoked, and having the confidence in them and seeing them rise. One of the things I'm really proud of is creating more of a culture of innovation and the architecture inside, under the hood, right? We've built intentional architecture of elevating those amazing teachers. Now, there's all kinds of examples, but it's almost like a flywheel, right? Moving faster and faster once you intentionally unleash, because otherwise it could be like, oh, this is chaotic, right? But we've been very intentional. It's taken, over several years. But this concept of street data, where teachers are like, wow, this is amazing. We got to do something here or there. But under an old model, ideas coming from teachers are often stifled, right? They don't have a chance to do something differently because of pacing guides and all of that. So one of the teachers from the junior highs went to his principal and said, look at, the superintendent always talks about innovation and all this stuff, and I have a big idea. What is that? I would like to teach a class in Minecraft, right? This is real popular. It's out the kids are all playing this, right? And rather than stifle that idea, the principal said, you know what, I think the superintendent would be interested in listening to you. Of course, we approved it as an elective. And since that, and now this teacher has been one of the designated community school teachers in our district. Very entrepreneurial. He's had that entrepreneurial training as well. And he's now created, of course, it's like the most popular course, and it's about problem solving, the community problem solving. So Microsoft, which is the parent company, they have built out, there's a group that they've worked with that built out the shelves of each of our schools across the district in this Minecraft world. I'm actually the district too. I'm actually this Minecraft guy too in there. And the kids are challenged with rethinking education, with solving food deserts. It is incredible, the ideas that are coming out of the kids, right? Now we have a handful of teachers that are doing that. And out of this movement, we've concurrently been building esports, but we're building the first game design pathway in the region, right? With corporate gaming companies. One of the innovations we've done, another innovation, is this concept of reverse engineering jobs. So we have 120 corporate and business partners, a lot of nonprofits as well. But I go to some of these folks, and now we have a little team that handles this, but sit down with the CEO or the head of HR, with the community college dean, and with our high school people, and ask this question to corporations, which is a really important distinction. We're not asking for jobs. We're not asking for money. Right. We're asking, what would it take to hire someone in your industry, in your sector?
Absolutely.
Very disarming. Oh, okay. So then over
That's
time,
right.
these are some big corporations that they see us, because we're a very low income district, a lot of minorities, right?
Yeah.
Initially it was sort of philanthropy or help out, be a mentor or whatever. But now their HR are seeing us as an extension of their industry, right? That's a big epiphany. That's almost like this farm team analogy in baseball, right?
Yeah.
There's a guy named Branch Rickey in 1926. He was the general manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. He had a big idea, which was to create the first farm team in baseball. And since
Mm,
that time, in 1926, the next 20 years, they won 6 world titles. The and of course that concept of a farm team is what I want to bring into schools with our corporate partners. As long as the kids' purpose aligns to what your industry is, because we're not imposing this old factory
right.
school model. We want the kid to decide what their calling is. Our teachers now become your talent scouts. It's about developing talent and keeping
Yeah.
it local.
I absolutely love what you said. And it makes me think about something that I used to say to our business partners, which is look, in your case, you could say, we've got 25,000 future workers sitting in our system right now. What is it that you need from us to help our kids be employable? And I just think you're spot on. And what a cultural legacy to leave for the district. And that is something that, my gosh, what a gift and something to be grateful for. It's absolutely incredible. Mike, we're already at the end of our time. It just goes by so quick, doesn't it?
Thank you so much.
Oh man. It's been fantastic. Loved having you as a guest on the Superintendent Hot Seat podcast, and wish you just immense success for the rest of the school year here and your journey in life, Mike. Great to see you.
Well, very grateful, Michael, for the opportunity. Thank you.
Absolutely.